You're listening to the audio production of The Unknown God, A Journey with Jesus from East to West by Mathew P. John, published by David C. Cook, and read by Vikas Adam. To Joanne, best friend, fiercest critic, and one true love. Forward. I entered first grade in 1954 when the U.S. Congress added the phrase, "Under God," to the Pledge of Allegiance. 2 years later, "In God We Trust" replaced "E Pluribus Unum" on the Great Seal of the United States and began appearing on the nation's currency. Americans took pride in being a religious people, and by religious, they meant Christian. In those days, finding a mosque or a Hindu temple in suburbia was about as likely as spotting a UFO. My, how things have changed in 6 decades. Now, Hollywood celebrities openly convert to Buddhism, 2 of Silicon Valley's tech giants are led by Hindus, and Muslim candidates run for national office. Meanwhile, a growing minority is opting out of religion altogether. The number of Americans unaffiliated with any religion has quadrupled since 1991 and includes 38% of citizens between the ages of 18 and 29. When polled, these unaffiliated, or nones, often cite the narrowness and exclusiveness of Christian churches as barriers to faith. Enter Mathew John, whose life seems scripted to offer guidance to a newly pluralistic society. Raised in a Christian home in a nation dominated by 1 billion Hindus, he attended school in a city known for its historic Jewish settlements. From there, he entered Mahatma Gandhi University, where he was assigned a devout Muslim roommate. Further studies in Toronto and Greater Los Angeles exposed him to even more diversity. With a master's in theological studies and a PhD in intercultural studies, Mathew is uniquely qualified as a guide. Moreover, he has the ability to break down the complexity of religions and make them understandable. He uses The Simpsons and Avatar to teach about Hinduism, and Seinfeld and The Matrix to give insights into Buddhism. He draws striking parallels from the Bible. For example, asking, what if God were to ask a televangelist to go and preach repentance to the jihadists wreaking havoc in the Middle East? God once asked something very similar of a prophet named Jonah. From his many encounters with other religions, Mathew personally grappled with the questions that challenge spiritual seekers. Why does the Bible place such emphasis on a tiny tribe of Israelites that became known as the Jews? And when one of those Jews announces, "I am the way, the truth, and the life, no one comes to the Father except through me," where does that leave the billions of people who never heard of Jesus? In Jesus, who changed history more than anyone who has ever lived, Mathew finds a commonality among the various religions. Hindus see Jesus as a godly incarnation, and Buddhists recognize him as a fully enlightened one. Muslims recognize Jesus as a prophet second only to Muhammad, who will return in a second coming to set right the world. The Quran calls him the Messiah and acknowledges his virgin birth to Mary, the only woman mentioned in the Quran. Mathew explores Christ figures present in other religions that point to Jesus. Christians are familiar with many of these in the Old Testament, such as the Passover meal and the suffering servant of Isaiah, but less familiar with parallels in other religions. C.S. Lewis spoke of true myths, or Christ archetypes, imprinted in other religions that actually point to Christ. The Bible itself shows God using an Egyptian king and pagan priests, as well as many ordinary Gentiles, as part of God's plan of self-revelation. There was an era, in my own lifetime, when the U.S. took for granted the Christian faith as a kind of national religion. That time has passed. Christianity has traveled far beyond its historic roots in Europe and the Americas and has spread
Sample complete. Ready to continue?